as you call us, like. Can we first just give a really warm round of applause to some of the unsung heroes, Liz Avelar in particular, but also Charles Thank you so much. And my wife, Ceci, I get all the glory, but Ceci is really the force behind, the spirit behind everything. Ceci, thank you so much for having me. Big round of applause. And my dear friend who came all the way from the Twin Cities, Dennis Deans, who's been there through thick and thin as his Paul. And we're so grateful that Dennis flew all the way here to be part of this. Thank you, my brother.
And my friend Kelly Ransom, where's Kelly?
Yeah, and Kelly and I meeting Armin. I'll be back on December 9th for a gathering of the World Affairs Council, so I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you then as well. These are interesting times to be alive. Can we all agree on that? And there have been spiraling acts of what I would call political violence that have been taking place. And I don't just mean physical acts, but people who feel afraid even that they shouldn't say anything or there will be consequences. And it's ascending ever more out of control. And some of the most, as we learn in Plato of Shakespeare's like Hamlet, some of the most personal, intimate acts can also be deeply embedded in political things as well. It certainly led to the rottenness, pervasively, of Denmark. And Paul has really made September 17th so special for me. It was just a week before when my book, Constitution Cafe, Jefferson's Brew for True Revolution came out. And I came and spoke at the program that Charles runs called the Gemini Inc. It's called a Breakthrough Thinkers series, and I met Paul there. And this event on September 17th gets me through this day, because this is the 14th anniversary. I hate to use that word because it sounds celebratory, but the tragically unexpected and still mysterious death of my father. And luckily I was able to get an advanced copy of this book in his hands. And my dad's Greek, and I wrote all my previous books, Socrates Cafe and 6 Questions of Socrates, were all about Greek, celebrating Hellenic heritage. My dad liked this book the best. And we talked about it quite a bit, and I was ever so grateful that several months before his passing, on September 17, 2011, we got to talk deeply, among many, many other things, about constitutional matters and how I came to write this book. I'm wondering if you would mind if we took about 30 seconds of silence and really thought about all those who've been victimized, left, right, unable to label politically, but all those who have, whose voices in one way or another have been silenced. Can we do that just for a few seconds? Thank you so much. I think a lot of us are in mourning for our democracy. That we've lost that ability to engage one another lawfully, respectfully, especially as we disagree. And what I love about this, this is really Paul's brainchild. Constitution Cafe is certainly kindred to what Paul came out with, but this ability to seek out others and invite them to public places and spaces so we can share and celebrate, at least to certain degrees, a wide range of different ways of seeing the world is something that we used to really prize and seems to have gone by the wayside. But I always leave these gatherings feeling great hope and heart for our possibilities as Americans, as actual aspiring people who sometimes come from other nations as well. I have dual U.S. Greek citizenship, and my grandparents came through Ellis Island 102 years ago. And fascists took over their island. And so whenever we see pernicious patterns of people being afraid, of a culture of silence, people looking the other way, patterns in history do repeat themselves. So far, all the greatest open societies have had moments of ascent, moments of stasis, and then irreversible decline. By the time it reaches that period, it can be too late. Look at what happened to Socrates. He was killed in a democracy. And my flagship initiative is still the Socrates Cafe after all these years. God, he thought I would be about 102 years old because he's known as Socrates Cafe, which I began in 1996. And there's a real uptick in inquiries about our palette of initiatives. If you go to democracycafe.org, Socrates Cafe certainly is the flagship one, but Constitution Cafe and Conversation with the Constitution are very much kindred and laced with those as well. And so today, we are going to look at, we've never done this before, we're looking at two amendments at the same time. We're looking at the Fourth and the Fifth Amendments. And so, these amendments sprang from the fact that the framers of our Constitution, there was a worry that there were still possibilities of sort of people exercising kind of monarchical, authoritarian abilities over people to truly be free. And so, in the Fourth Amendment, this ability to not have here's the thing. You're supposed to be in America. You're supposed to be the king of your home. And so all of a sudden, there were lots of arrests, searches, and seizures that were pretty indiscriminate. And it reminded our original revolutionaries of the fact that there were still vestiges of monarchical powers that could be exercised in pernicious ways in our government. And then when you lump that with the Fifth Amendment, which is about, for the Fourth Amendment, about having probable cause before you do searches and seizures and issue warrants. And then the Fifth Amendment is all about having this thing called due process, where you, whether you're a U.S. citizen or you just happen to be on U.S. soil, all persons on U.S. soil would be able to be afforded this wonderful due process. So with the combination of probable cause and due process, you knew that the Constitution had your back. And so there have been some things ongoing of late that have been of some concern to Americans across the political spectrum. A lot of folks who, whether here or from elsewhere, have been on the receiving end of what they would consider, and their lawyers would consider, unwarranted searches and seizures, and including invasions of homes without probable cause. That has been more like of the fabricated variety, and that they've been completely denied due process. Now, when we think about these two things together, we typically think about, well, this is mostly applicable to those who are here maybe in an undocumented capacity. But it's not so. It is a big element of it, to be sure. But there's also, I don't know if you've heard or read about these things, there's also a lot of phone lines for informants these days, especially in the federal government. If you are teaching something that is considered antithetical to certain views, if you say in the State Department, for instance, anything that smacks of an anti-Christian bias, as they put it in their directive, if you dare to even, all the diversity DEI program has been completely eliminated, but there's still federal employees who believe in it in spirit. But if you express that belief or support of it, there are now lines, phone lines, they call them snitch lines, that people call, and you can get in hot water really quickly without any due process of any kind. Somebody who may just have a grudge against you and anonymously call one of these informant lines, and you can get suspended, you can get demoted, and you can get the boot. And you might never even know who your accuser was. That's where things are right now. It's a little bit chilling. Regardless of your political beliefs, we're circumventing our supposedly sacrosanct Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. And I would think and hope that everybody, any political persuasion, might be concerned and alarmed about that. Because what happens to one side right now might happen to the other. Did anybody here live through, at any part through the Red Scare, one or two? Anybody? What was called the Red Scare in the United States? You did? And was it not a very great time? Was it a little?
It was difficult. I mean, I think we've lived a lot. In my age group, we've lived through segregation, lived through the Red Scare, lived through some wars that we regret being in.
Yeah, so people are afraid to speak. There's almost a culture of silence because of fear sometimes, because they might get earmarked or reported to something. And so those patterns are kind of repeating themselves today. And so I thought for a question, it's a little bit edgier than usual, but for our opening question to engage in, and don't worry about right or wrong, just worry about, think long and hard about getting your view across, and then making sure everybody else at your table has ample opportunity to speak as well. Sometimes we all win in these days of rampant polarization just by hearing one another out, especially if we don't agree with their point of view. Just finding out what people think and why they think what they think. And let's focus on that habit today. And so my question to you today, and you can challenge the assumption of the question for us, is how can we the people safeguard our Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights? That's my question. How can we the people safeguard our Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights? All right, I'm going to come join somebody at a table and